Aloha, everyone. This regular meeting of the Kailua Neighborhood Board is called to order at 7:03. First order of business in any hybrid meeting is roll call. Josiah Akau. Present. Travis Council. Present. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Present.
Present remotely. David Laea.
Present remotely.
Present remotely. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Levani Lipton. Carol Miyashiro. Kailua Morel. Present. Kate Ryder.
Thought I'm missing people. Might not have quorum.
Claudine Tomasa.
Present remotely.
Present remotely. Steve Trecker. Evan Weber. Present. Gary Weller. Present. Present. John White.
Present, Chair.
Present remotely. Donna Wong.
Present.
Present. Jeff Suckernick.
Present remotely.
Present remotely. And I'm here. All right, we've established quorum with 12 members, 7 in person and 5 remotely. Next order of business is election of officers to serve to the end of this term, June 30th, 2025. We have one officer to go, and that's secretary. And Kellyanne Kobayashi is willing to serve again as secretary, and unless there's someone else that would rather do it. But she is willing to be nominated. I would entertain any nominations for secretary. Donna Wong.
I so move.
So moved by Donna Wong. Is there a second?
Second.
Josiah Cow seconds. Any discussion?
Does
Any other
anyone
nominees?
want to be secretary?
Oh. Kellyanne Kobayashi is present. And would you like to make any remarks before we take a vote?
No, I just don't know if anyone else wants to be secretary. They can definitely do it, but I can keep doing it for now.
Well, I think we've got the best secretary of all the neighborhood boards. So,
Oh, okay. Well, I look forward to working with the executive committee. And we do discuss some important things there. So yeah, thank you.
all right, well, let's take it to a vote. Because we're early and someone may have joined us, we'll do a roll call. Vote. Josiah Cow. Aye. Travis Council. Aye. Kellyanne Kobayashi. Yes, and mahalo. David Laea.
Aye.
Aye. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Levani Lipton. Carol Miyashiro. Kailua Morel. Aye. Kate Ryder.
Aye.
Aye. Claudine Tomasa.
Aye.
Aye. Steve Trecker. Evan Weber. Aye. Gary Weller.
Here.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. John White.
Aye. Thank you, Kelly.
Aye. With a mahalo. Donna Wong. Aye. Jeff Suckernick.
Thank you, Kelly. I also.
Aye with a mahalo. And Chair votes aye with a big mahalo. So Kellyanne, you were unanimously reelected as secretary with 13 votes. Congratulations and mahalo. All right, we'll move on to announcements. We have an emergency preparedness fair here in Kailua. The Kailua Alert Prepared and the Kailua Neighborhood Board will host an annual emergency preparedness fair on Saturday, September 7th. That's this Saturday between 9 and 1 at the Kailua Town Center parking garage area fronting Long's Pharmacy. The recent Maui wildfire disaster stressed how important it is to be prepared for the unexpected. Please come and learn how to prepare, endure, and recover quickly from a disaster. And mahalo to Alexander and Baldwin as a site sponsor and supporter for this event. This month, we're also going to have the Kailua Fall Festival. The third annual festival will take place on Saturday, September 28th from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. on Hananani Street. It is a night of award-winning musical acts, entertainment, vendors, food, drinks, and fun for the entire family. This is a free event to attend and enjoy. There is a parking and trolley ride available at Kainalu Elementary School with a pre-sale price of $7 with funds going to Kanalu's band. If you're 21 and want to have a beverage at any of the participating bars, you may purchase the event wristband, good for cover charges and a stein, and the details are at kailuaevents.com. And even though this is only September, we can get ready for a Christmas parade. The Olamana Community Association will be conducting its annual Christmas parade on Sunday, December 15th, starting at 2:30. The route starts at Monowili Elementary School on Ulupi'i Street, goes through the streets of the Olamana subdivision, and finishes at the school. Santa will be riding in a red classic Volkswagen convertible, and the public is invited to attend. Are there any other announcements? Travis.
Thank you, Chair. Just a reminder to the community, the end of this month on the 29th is the annual Honolulu Century Ride. And a little plug, we are looking for a volunteer group to help with the aid station just next door at the intermediate school. But that's the 29th of September. That there'll be about 1,000 cyclists, fundraiser for the Hawaii Bicycling League going through town on Sunday, September 29th.
All right, mahalo. Any other announcements from the audience online? All right, mahalo. Next order of business is a board vacancy. This is for the term ending next June 30th. The vacancy is for Subdistrict 2, which is Enchanted Lake. Board members may nominate candidates to fill the vacancy. Proof of subdistrict residency is required. Candidates may speak for 3 minutes prior to the board voting. Are there any nominations for the vacancy on the board?
Chair, I have one.
Josiah Cow.
I, Brune. Enchanted Lakes. Like the nominee, he's here today.
Ty.
I, A-A-A-I,
Aye.
last name Brune, B-R-U-H-N.
Aye, Brune. Okay. Is there a second? Donna Wong. Are there any other nominations for the vacancy?
Yes, Bill, sorry. I've been playing
uh,
with my mute.
David Laia.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Jeff Klein.
I'm sorry, the first name?
Jeff, J-E-F-F.
Jeff Klein. Is there a second? Travis Council seconds. Are there any other nominations for board vacancy? Okay, well, Kai and Jeff, thank you so much for volunteering to join the board. What we would now like to do is spend a few minutes to get to know you. If you could mention any background and anything that has drawn your interest to this board. And also, our neighborhood assistant will have to check your driver's license for residency in Enchanted Lake. So we'll go with Kai first. And Jeff, if you could drop off your driver's license, and then we'll switch. Kai? Yes, at the microphone, please. All right, very trusting with the keys.
Yeah. Hello, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kai Brun. Just want to give a little brief history of who I am and where I'm from. I'm born and raised in Kailua. I've lived in Enchanted Lakes for 45 years of my life. It's a pleasure for me to be amongst my neighbors here. You know, standing right here geographically, I'm thinking about, I went to Enchanted Lake Elementary, I went to Kailua Intermediate, and I went to Kailua High School. And just being right here, I remember my father was a policeman, a sergeant right at the Kailua Police Department station. So Kailua to me is my home. It's a place that I take great pride in being a part of. As far as community involvement, majority of my involvement comes through the canoe clubs that are in the area. Kailua Canoe Club, Anikai Canoe Club. And a lot of you may or may not know, but Kailua originates from the name Kailua, which means two seas becoming one. And, you know, going over a little history of where I've been, where I'm born and raised, and the schools I've gone to. Why I'm here right now is to be a part of the transition from the past, the history that keeps our Kailua so special, you know, the Hawaiian culture and the values that are still instilled in this part of the Aina. And as we go into the future, it's two seas becoming one. I think I'm compelled to be a part of that transition as we grow going forward. My youngest child is at the intermediate school here. I opted to have him go to the Kailua Intermediate rather than St. Louis and Iolani because I wanted to see the culture of what Kailua has. You know, and it's a melting pot when you go into the schools within your district that you come from. So I don't want to go on and on, but just to be standing here, like I said, amongst my neighbors, you know, people create neighbors, neighbors create neighborhoods, neighborhoods create communities. And that's the foundation for the future for our children and also the livelihood and peaceful living for our kupuna, our elderly that still that reside here and Kailua is their home. So I'd like to try to be the midpoint and past as we transition to the future, allowing the two seas to become one. And any way I can be of assistance in that, that's my goal, just to be of assistance and be helpful to anybody that really sees and has the knowledge and tools to do support for the people that are in Kailua. Not just born and raised, but call this place home.
Okay, mahalo, Kai. If we could trade, and we'll hear from Jeff Klein. And Kai, if you could get your keys back and show your driver's license to our neighborhood assistant, please.
Hi, my name is Jeff Klein. I'm originally born and raised in the Midwest, Indiana and Ohio. Graduated from Purdue University eventually with a Bachelor of Science in Forest Management. Joined the Peace Corps at some point where I met my wife, who's from here, and moved here in 1988. I've lived in Kailua since 1992. I worked for many years doing environmental restoration with the State Department of Health and the Coast Guard and the Air Force, and ultimately the Navy, where I retired last year at the end of 2022. I've raised both my sons here. One is our natural born kid, and one we adopted, a foster child. One lives at home still. I think the main thing that I could add to the board is my environmental experience. I've got lots of work doing, we call it environmental restoration, which is basically cleaning up the places where chemicals were spilled, that sort of thing. But I am interested in helping community advance. I'm in the process of becoming a Red Cross volunteer since I retired. When the Maui fires happened, it kind of inspired me to try to get involved, and turns out that there was no fast way to get involved. So that's why I'm finally working through the process with the Red Cross. So, but other than that, like I said, I've lived here since '92 in Kailua, in the same place on 1 Hour Road, and seen a lot's gone on in the last several years and the changes. And I'd just like to make sure that the changes in the future are good changes and that problems that need to be addressed. Hopefully I have experience in doing construction work and other types of work like that. So that'd be the main thing that I think I could be helpful with. And I like working with people. So I think that's about what I have to say so far. So.
All right, mahalo. Both addresses have been verified within Subdistrict 2 in Shannon Lake. I'm going to just put some commentary out there that there are many neighborhood boards that have ongoing vacancies, and there are some neighborhood boards that don't even fill all the seats in an election. And in Kailua, we always have competitive elections, but tonight I think we have heard from two outstanding Kailua citizens, and we're just proud and honored to have two outstanding candidates tonight. What we'll do next is we'll open it up for each candidates. So if you both could come to the microphone, if there are any questions from board members, and then after that, we'll take a vote. Are there any questions for Kai or for Brune or for Jeff Klein? Donna Wong.
Hi, my two questions are for both of you. What is your position on vacation rentals in residential communities?
My personal opinion, I sort of follow the laws, whatever laws have been mandated. So I can have views on each one, but they're case by case. So whatever the law is stated and the community is backing, that's the one that I sway with, because I believe a community is the majority. So whatever the majority votes on, I have to put some of my personal issues aside and go with the law and go with what the community votes on. So I support the community's decision, and my personal opinion, I kind of leave out of it. I want to go with the majority and what the community decides. And that's what I back. Because they're my peers, we are one. I am them, we are one. So whatever the majority of the community goes with, that's what I have to back. That's my thoughts.
All right, Jeff.
Hi. It's a tough question, obviously, because if you're an owner of one of these facilities or one of these places that rent out, you'd like to keep your income from that. But there's also the issue of homelessness, which is also, I think, one of the pressing issues we have today. And I have to admit, I don't know enough about the actual situation to know if what kind of changes are available. I mean, if you were to limit or start cracking down on people that have rentals that are not legal, then, that could create problems too. But I think it's definitely something we need to look at, and I would need to study more to give you a really good answer.
So currently the law is short-term vacation rentals are illegal in residential zoning. So my next question is for each one of you. What are the top 3 issues that concern you and what you would like to work on the board?
Okay, we'll alternate. Jeff?
Okay, well, I've never tried to categorize them or rank them, but I really think homelessness is really becoming one of the major issues, not just in Kailua, but the whole state. Protecting the environment is also very important to me. I've worked in the environmental field for a long time, and whatever we can do to cut down on pollution or conserve energy or store habitats, those sort of things are the kind of things that I would really like to work on. And number 3, I don't know, I was just talking to one of the owner of the Saigon New House yesterday as I was getting, and he was complaining about how hard it is to maintain small businesses in the community. And I don't know if there's anything the board could actually do to support the small businesses, but I would be for that as well.
Hello, Kai.
The 3 main things that stick out in my head. The first one are kind of 2 in 1 is community safety. Making sure that the keiki, middle age, and kupuna are safe to be in Kailua. And I don't know if it's a correlation or a spinoff of homeless issues, but I do believe being homeless is one thing, and being a nuisance or a distraction to the community is another thing. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that have been causing issues, safety concerns, theft, breaking in, coincidentally, when they do get arrested, it finds out that they are homeless or they have no residential area. So my concern to top that would be to create community awareness, such as neighborhood patrolling or watch, to help make people feel safe, to cut down on the crime part. And then finding solutions to the homelessness, whether it's, I believe rehabilitation through medical assistance programs can help. If there are issues with mental health concerns, you hit it there, you rehabilitate the people so they can get back on their feet and in turn become an asset to the community. Third is keeping the importance of the culture of aloha in Kailua, in Hawaii. If we as a community follow the steps that the people that once lived here, they operated an ahupua'a system. But the basic fundamental of aloha, being kind, non-judgmental, showing empathy to those that need help, and then integrating cultural activities, starting with the youth and the children of Kailua, so they can learn the values that the people that once thrived here used. There is a formula, and so to summarize it, create a safer Kailua by having neighborhood patrolling or watches, having resolutions for the people that are homeless with health issues that are being disturbances to others. And lastly, reviving the culture that once made Hawaii so special and keeps Kailua special. We still have it in our home. Through that, it'll be a transcending effect to the community by reinstilling the simple values of the Hawaiian people. And like I said, how would you do that? Have cultural events, taking the people to the lo'i patches, the kalo patches we have, taking them to the ocean, learning about the fish, the seasonal safety concerns of the ocean. I meet with the Kailua Fishing, the Ocean Committee a lot. And their concern is the dangers that are happening out in the ocean, overfishing, using motorized boating to obtain the fish, and basically creating a cultural awareness so we can remember what value we need to hold on to go into the future.
Okay, mahalo. We've got additional questions from John White. And then Kellyanne Kobayashi. So we'll keep flip-flopping the order. This question is for you, Kai, from John White.
Thank you, Chair. Same question for both. As with all issues that come through the board, they are community concerns and issues. The question is, in your community and neighborhood, how active are you out there with your neighbors and also with strangers out their community to bring their concerns to the board to be heard if they can't make it in person or don't want to voice their opinions? How engaged are you to bring the concerns instead of personal concerns?
My major involvement, getting involved with the community, stems from what I love to do, which is paddling. So, there's about an average of maybe 1,000 or so people in the canoe club I'm in, which is Lanikai, all classes. And then the canoe club over, which is Kailua, there's about 400 people. So I started there. I started where I'm comfortable, where I know, and a lot of times they'll address to me what they see going on. And if I'd be able to speak to people I know in the board or community leaders. So my major involvement as of now is getting into the ears and the thoughts of the people that are not in the ocean, so to speak, but in the community that I more or less involve myself in. And then on the second hand, my involvement is more so with my son's sporting events. His grandfather was Norman Abial, so they have a field named after him. A lot of times at the baseball field, you can reach out. Well, I reach out to the community or my neighbors. I call them my neighbors, even if they live in Kailua and I'm in Chinamix, just to address what's going on, and how we could take it to the board or the law enforcement or to the people that are in charge that have influence to see how we can reconcile and find a way to move forward. So that's kind of my personal way that I reach out to them.
Mahalo. Same question, Jeff.
Okay. Well, before I had kids, I did a fair amount more. My wife and I would volunteer for, beach cleanups and Sierra Club projects and that sort of thing. And then as the kids were growing up, there'd be occasional, soccer coaching or stuff like that. Since I just retired, as I mentioned, I was kind of a late father too, so my kids are not that far out of the house. Actually, one of them's still in the house. But as I mentioned, I'm working on becoming a Red Cross volunteer. I've had some things like travel and things like that, family issues to deal with, but that stuff is mostly past, I think, now finally. And so, I am at the process of looking to get more involved. One of the reasons why I'm here tonight, and looking for other ways that I can help out the community with my volunteers. So that's basically my story.
Okay, mahalo. And Jeff, we'll go with you first. Question from Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Same question for both of you. So our neighborhood board has a committee system, I guess, where a lot of our issues are actually tackled in detail in our committees. And I was just wondering how free you were on the second Thursday of the month or the third Tuesday to join our committees, or how interested you are too. Thanks.
Well, since I'm retired, I have a fair amount of free time. So, other than working in the yard and that sort of thing, I do travel a little bit. I just got back from a trip, and I'm actually going to be in the Bay Area in early next month, so I might not even be at this first meeting, I could say. But But I'm definitely interested in doing things where it can be more hands-on. And depending upon what the committee is, if I have some knowledge that might be useful, I'd be glad to contribute. And those dates are not, I'm sorry, what were the dates again? One of my hobbies is to play music, and there are certain dates that I get together with my friends to play music, but we can move things around there too. So
Second Thursday and third Tuesday.
I don't see anything offhand that would interfere with that with my schedule.
Okay, mahalo. Kai?
As far as my scheduling, those days are open. And if I get involved in things before I step into anything, I know what I gotta get committed in. And so I'll make accommodations to be present. There's a saying, and I just heard it when I was walking in, you protect what you fall in love with, whether it's your children, where you live, and you make adjustments. So I have 3 children, so this Kailua is like important to me as one of my children. So how does that go into the question? I'm going to make accommodations to ensure that I'll be present and available for the committee or any meetings that we have that are involved in our home. The only way I wouldn't be there is if I'm out of town or off island for work, which is once a year for our caucuses that are held around. But other than that, I'll be available and honored if I am a part of it.
No, it's just they're in person except for the water quality meeting is also by Zoom. All right, are there any other questions for our 2 candidates online? Okay, well, we are very blessed to have 2 outstanding Kailuans volunteer to join our board. Thank you both very much. We move on to a vote, and the way this works is each member will state their choice, either Kai Braun or Jeff Klein, and we'll see if someone achieves 10 votes, which is needed to be elected. If not, then we can do a second balloting round. So we'll vote to fill the Enchanted Lake Subdistrict 2 vacancy. Josiah Akau.
Brune.
Brune. Travis Council.
Kai.
Brune. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Jeff,
Klein. David Laia.
Jeff Klein.
Klein. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Lavani Lipton. Carol Miyashiro. Kayala Morel.
Brune?
Brune. Kate Ryder.
Jeff Klein.
Klein. Claudine Tomasa.
Aye.
Brune. Steve Trecker. Abstain. Evan Weber. Brune. Gary Weller. Klein. John White.
Brother Broom.
Brune. Donna Wong. Klein. Jeff Suckernick.
Klein.
Fine. Uh, Chair votes fine. All right, the vote tally is Jeff Klein, 7, Kai Brun, 6, with 1 abstention. Um, uh, It, it requires 10 votes for a candidate to be elected. We'll immediately go into a second round of voting and see where we are. Jeff Klein, 7, Kai Brun, 6, with 1 abstention. And it's an incredibly difficult choice. Round 2. The Democratic National Convention once had 140 ballots, but we'll continue as long as it's productive. Second ballot, Josiah Cow.
Brune.
Bruin. Travis Council. Klein. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Jeff Klein.
Klein. David Laea.
Jeff Klein.
Klein. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Lavani Lipton. Carol Miyashiro. Kayla Morel. Kayla. Brun. Kate Ryder.
Fine.
Fine. Claudine Tomasa.
Bruin,
Bruin. Steve Trecker. Fine. Evan Weber. Bruin. Gary Weller. Fine. John White.
Another Bruin.
Bruin. Donna Wong. Fine. Jeff Zuckernick.
Klein.
Fine. Chair votes Klein. Right. On the second ballot, Jeff Klein, 9, Kai Brun, 5. We'll try for a third ballot, see where we are. Josiah Cow.
Brune.
Bruin. Travis Council. Klein. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Klein.
Klein. David Laea.
Klein.
Klein. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Levani Lipton. Carol Miyashiro. Kayla Morel.
Fine.
Fine. Kate Brighter.
Fine.
Fine. Claudine Tomasa.
Bruin,
Bruin. Steve Trecker. Fine. Evan Weber. Bruin.
I know Fred.
Gary Weller. Fine. John White.
The Bruin.
Bruin. Donna Wong. Fine. Jeff Zuckernick.
Fine.
Fine. And chair votes fine.
Oh. Good job, Dan.
All right, on the third ballot, Jeff Klein, 10, Kai Bruin, 4.
Wow.
So Jeff Klein is selected to fill the Subdistrict 2 vacancy. Congratulations. And Kai, mahalo nui loa.
Mahalo Kai.
I think in everyone's hearts, they all wanted to do what Steve Drucker did, abstain, because this was incredibly difficult. We do have elections next year. All right. We will recess for a moment while Jeff is sworn in.
I like grab this. Good. Oh. Miss your
Jeff,
food.
you need to change your seat. Yes, we are recessed. 7:46. Next order of business are reports from Honolulu Police Department and Honolulu Fire Department. We'll start with HPD. Honolulu Fire Department.
Good evening, Chair Hicks, board members, my neighbors. I'm Captain Aaron Jones from the Kailua Fire Station, and today Firefighter 1 Nick Steinman is going to give you the stats and the report.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Firefighter Steineman from right down the road at Kailua Station. So as Captain Jones said, I'm going to give you the stats for August. So in August, we had 3 structure fires, 0 wildland or brush, 1 nuisance fire, 0 cooking fires, 18 activated alarms. As far as emergencies go, we had 102 medical, 0 motor vehicle collisions with pedestrians, 5 motor vehicle crashes, 1 mountain rescue, 1 ocean rescue, and 0 hazmat incidents. The fire safety tip for this month is move over for emergency vehicles. So drive with caution and obey all traffic laws, including the move over law, to help protect our first responders while performing their duties near or on a roadway. This is more than a public courtesy, it's law. Hawaii Revised Statutes 291C27-27 requires a driver of a vehicle that is approaching an emergency vehicle that is stopped for an emergency, investigation of a possible traffic violation, rendering assistance to a police officer, or for other official duties as indicated by flashing emergency lights of stopped vehicle. They shall slow down to a reasonable, prudent speed that is safe under circumstances of an emergency road situation. If necessary, the driver shall come to a complete stop before making a lane change under paragraph. And make a lane change into the adjacent lane if necessary, and if it is safe to do so or possible, 2 lanes over, which leaves 1 lane between the driver and the emergency vehicle. And there's a note on there that says emergency vehicles mean police, fire, EMS, ocean safety, that's an important one, and freeway service patrol, tow trucks, and even some state and county vehicles while personnel are working. Does anyone have any questions?
Gary Weller.
You're probably from this fire station here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I live near the other fire station. It was a big effort right after the Maui fire to look at all these empty lots in Kailua that have an immense amount of grass and alikoa trees and stuff. And I'm not hearing too much about it anymore. Has the new fire marshal been put in place? And has anything changed for you folks to give you more power to clean up these properties?
So unfortunately, I don't have very much information on whether a new fire marshal is being voted in or anything like that. But I do know that our battalion chief has worked with, been to different meetings and worked with different lawmakers to kind of go over some of the safety concerns of the community. But I think it's like an ongoing thing that our department is kind of currently working with the state government on. So. I think I'll turn that one over to my captain.
Yeah, can I repeat the question back to you just to see? Okay, so you say there's construction in Lanikai, Mokulele, Pisakale. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah, so if there, you answered the question yourself, sir. It's a private lane. The city doesn't have jurisdiction over private lanes. It's private property. So it's up to you as an owner and that person's as an owner to, yeah, hey, let's do the right thing and make access for fire trucks. As far as enforcement, we can get back to you on that. Can we enforce it? Can we send the police in to enforce like keeping your private lane clear? That'd be a question for the police. They police it for us. If we come in there, we can't make access. We're gonna have to find a way to get around it. I wish we could cite cars or whatnot, but we don't have that. Especially, I don't think police has access to cite cars on private land as well. So yeah, I'm not sure that helps. I don't think it's law enforcement. I'm just kind of deferring, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, right. In my mind, it's a private property. Like you said, I believe you answered yourself. Right. So it's a private or a civil matter that you got to take up with him according to however bylaws or declaration you have on the land. You can enforce that with him and take it with a civil suit against him. As far as the police, I don't know if they have jurisdiction over private property, if it's a domestic civil suit. Firemen, we would like, if it says on your declaration that this is a fire lane, then by all means, if we can find that deeded like access for fire department, give that to our people upstairs, or you can call this, go to their website and you can leave a message saying that this fire lane is blocked, and then we'll send the necessary inspectors to do a fire inspection, and we'll give a citation and work that way with our whole inspector group. Yeah. So if you have that, given that power to the fire department or the city, and by all means, then we have access. But if it is purely private, then it's all your Kuleana. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So check the laws and then yeah, go to our site and then do an investigation. Yeah. Okay. No. I'm sorry to defer you to a website. Do you have access to the internet? Okay, so there's I want to just look up Honolulu Fire Department. I'm not sure if it's org or whatnot, but we have a place where you can do requests for a citation for blocking access. Right. That I don't know if that's true or not, but we do have inspectors who will come by and inspect. But again, it has to be a known fire lane or whatnot, a deeded access. Or sure. Yeah. It is, yeah. Right. DPP will send an inspector immediately though if you do make a request. I believe. I can't speak for them, but I know that they don't. Really? Oh well. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, a lot of grace, huh? Okay, yeah. Maybe the police will answer that question better than I can, by the way.
Okay, mahalo. Other questions for HFD? John White.
Thank you, Chair. With your medical emergencies, have you guys been encountering any fentanyl related calls? And if so, would you elaborate on that? I've been hearing a lot of crazy things on the news about fentanyl.
Just to repeat the question back, I think Nick's going to answer it for you, but have we encountered any fentanyl issues? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And I also want to congratulate your board member, Jeff Zuckerneck. I believe he's been promoted to EMS 2. Big distinction. Yeah. Congratulations, Jeff. Is that true, Jeff?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm not going to speak on behalf of EMS, but there is a notable exposure to fentanyl in our community. But I'll let Dr. Ireland go ahead and comment on that.
So regarding your question about the fentanyl incidents, so it wasn't necessarily a confirmed fentanyl incident, but it was probably opioid related. Maybe about not within the past month, but about several months ago, maybe 4 months ago, we did go to a call where we had to administer Narcan, which probably indicates that there might have been some kind of opioid overdose. So in the patient, but as far as like actually confirming that it was fentanyl, we weren't able to do that. So.
All right. Any other questions for HFD tonight? All right. From the audience, yes, ma'am.
Front is just full of van and this and that. Now, when the law first came into being about nuisance houses, residential places, you all went out and they cleared evidently weeds from the back. And in the ensuing years, which is probably a decade, there's even more crap in the front, which I view as a fire hazard. And why isn't that addressed by HFG? And part of the problem is they have a mailbox with no number. Thank you.
Yes, we'll get back to you on that. We'll have to find out what the status is on that. Same kind of similar question, code enforcement or hazards. So we'll get back to you on that one. Good question. And you don't have a street address at this time, right? Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and stay safe. Next order of business are committee motions, and committee motions are where they belong, item 6, and presentations are where they belong, item 12. But in tonight's case, we really need to do the presentation on the SMA permit applications before we consider the motions on the SMA permit applications. So I would entertain a motion to move the SMA presentations.
I motion to move the SMA
Okay.
presentation
So moved by Evan. Is there a second?
to now.
Seconded by Donna Wong. Is there any discussion? We'll take this vote. Are there any objections to revising tonight's agenda in order to do the presentation prior to each motion? Hearing no
Chair.
objection. Up, John White.
Just for clarity, why was the agenda made where the presentations were later on in the agenda prior, with the vote being prior? Seems like a point of order.
The, the motion is to modify the agenda such that the presentation happens first and then the corresponding SMA motion happens second. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So is there, John White, are you stating an objection?
Thank you, Chair. It just gives kind of seems like the part before the horse. All the agenda was written out. So maybe just for future board meetings, we can adjust that. So we don't have to amend the agenda.
Since there is an objection, we'll take a vote on whether to modify the agenda to present a presentation first and motion second for each of the SMAs.
Sorry, Chair Hicks, while we're in discussion, can I use privilege of the proposal to confirm that all of the presenters are in fact present?
Do we have do we have Scott LaRue and Carl Mensch for the 12th Kailua Road presentation? Present. And present also for 275 Kaili Pulu Drive. Do we have Rachel Okoji present?
Present.
Okay, all presenters are
Great,
present.
thank you, Chair.
So roll call vote on modifying the agenda. Josiah Cow,
Abstain.
abstain. Kellyanne, Travis Council. Aye. Kellyanne Kobayashi. Aye. David Laia.
Aye.
Aye. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Lavani Lipton. Carol Miyashiro. Kayla Morrell.
Aye.
Aye. Kate Ryder.
Aye.
Aye. Claudine Tomasa. Steve
Aye.
Trekker. Claudine Tomasa, aye. Steve Trekker. Aye. Evan Weber. Aye. Gary Weller. Aye. John White.
Nay.
Nay. Donna Wong. Aye. Jeff Suckernick.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye. The motion passes 12 ayes, 1 no, and 1 abstention. No, we're moving it around so that a presentation can be made on the subject before a vote is made on the subject. So we will start with the 12th Kailua Road presentation. Yes. 12th Kailua Road, Scott LaRue, Carl Mensch, are you ready to present?
Hi, my name is Carl Mensch. I'm representing 12 Kailua Road for the requirements of the SMA.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me? I'll be presenting this first project which is 12 Kailua Road, to meet the requirements of Department of Planning and Permitting Special Management Area permits. The project is, next slide, please. You could go down just one more. The project is located on the Kaneohe end of Kailua Beach Park, just on the road from Slapawai Market. This slide here shows the requirements and limitations of the land use ordinance. And then the project that we'll be doing is our proposed action that lays out the specifics of our lot or our project. And then the last column shows how we're conforming with the land use ordinance in our project. You go next slide, please. This is a general site plan, an overview. The ocean would be on the right-hand side, Mauka side would be the left. Kailua Beach Park, it would be on the bottom of this slide. We have a garage towards the Mauka side. As you move towards the ocean, we have the pool pavilion, entry to the main house, bedrooms on the lower level. If you go to the next slide, please. These are the bedrooms on the lower level. The ocean would be on the top of the slide, with Kailua Beach being on the right end of this slide. It is a 4-bedroom house, 3-bath, I believe, with a pool house, and separate garage. Next slide, please. The living area would be on the upper floor, on the second floor. We would have living space in the center, kitchen, and a master bedroom off to the left hand side. That would be the Kaneohe side. And this, or the left-hand side would be the Kaneohe side. Next slide, please. This is a garage floor plan that would be on the Mauka side of the property. Next slide, please. Some additional floor plans of the pool cabana, pool, and a pool lounge area. Slide. Here's a few sections and elevations of the house. Next slide. Same. Next slide. Or sections, garage section. Next slide. For significant criteria that we'll be meeting with these projects are cultural relevance, environmental effects on community resources, which we're all in compliance with. Next slide. So the zoning on this lot is residential R10, which is suitable for one single family dwelling. There is a existing single family dwelling that will be demolished and replaced with this new one. So we are within all limitations and compliant with all land use, and will go through any of the cultural, are going through all the cultural and archaeological requirements in our SMA permit. Next slide. I have a paper copy if anyone wants to come through it.
The presentation is also on our meeting materials website.
Okay, we do not conflict. We're in compliance with all state environmental policies, goals, and laws. We do not have a substantial adverse effect on any of the economic, welfare, social, or cultural practices of the community and state. Next slide, please. Since we're not changing the zoning, which impacts the density, we do not have an adverse effect on any public services, including health, fire, medical, etc. Next slide, please. This is a little bit of an overview of the lot. It's maybe a little hard to see in the slide, but on the left slide, you can see the red outline with the, that's the subject lot, and Kailua Beach Park to the right of it. The slide to the right shows the property boundary that abuts Kailua Beach Park. Next slide, please. We're in accordance with all chapters of the Water Rights Statute, Chapter 3343. We have no substantial environmental degradation or is anticipated. This is not part of a larger development, so we do not have any cumulative effect. Next slide, please. We'll be following all guidelines of forestry and wildlife, so we will not have any adverse effect on rare, threatened, or endangered species or their habitats. Again, because we're compliant and not looking to expand on any of the zoning, we will not have any adverse effects on air, water, or ambient noise levels. Next slide, please. One of the criteria of the SMA is the examination of coastal resources and their effects. The project will be situated behind the required setbacks for motion. We are in a flood zone X, which is not subject to any flooding over a 100-year period. We'll be outside of the 3.2 feet projected sea level rise and outside of annual high wave flood or coastal erosion. Next slide, please. This is showing the tsunami excavation zone. So we are in a tsunami zone, as much of Kailua is on the beach. Next slide. This shows the proposed 3.2 sea level rise in 50 years in blue. So you could maybe zoom in to give it a little better look. You can see how that's projected, and we are Mauka of that line. Slide, please. This slide shows the annual high wave flood, coastal erosion, and we are Mauka of those lines as well. Next slide, please. It's another slide for the 3.2 foot sea level rise. We're Mauka of those. Next slide, please. To wrap it up, the project does not have any substantial adverse effects on scenic vistas, views, plains, or any other resources in the community. Next slide, please. These are just additional location maps. Next slide. The project does not require any energy consumption or emit any substantial greenhouse gases. Slide, please. And that is it.
Okay, mahalo. Are there any residents who are attending tonight who have questions on this presentation? Yes, ma'am. If you could use the microphone.
You. My question is, what is the difference in the total permeable surface between the existing structure and any parking area and this, what I would call monster development that you're proposing?
I don't know that number, but there is a limitation of 75% in the LUO. Will be below that. 75% of your lot, I was just say 25% of your lot has to remain permeable. So 75% being your maximum non-permeable surfaces will be below that.
Okay, thank you. I get, in regards to that, are you saying that in addition to the garage, you're gonna, on the outside, somewhere on the lot, have 5 parking spots also?
There's a requirement for parking to be on all-weather surface. So in addition to the garage, we also have a parking area. I don't know if you could see it in those slides. The driveway that leads into the garage. So additional parking to fulfill the requirements of the land use are on the driveway area.
And you're saying this is a single family?
That's correct, yes.
House.
Okay. What's the square footage of the lot again?
It was 27,000, I think is what it was.
27,000 square feet with 5,700 foot dwelling. Okay. Sarah Gilman.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Good evening. My name is Sarah Gilman, sir. I'm actually a neighbor of this current property. I live at 12A Kailua Road. I know Scott LaRue, but this is the first time I've seen any details. So monstrous is the first word that comes to mind. I did have a question about the wall that borders the public park. What's the impact for, I think Scott's gonna build a new wall on that side and or a fence maybe. But how does that impact, folks coming into, the park? We already see people parking in that red zone in the park right along Scott's wall. But just in terms of access and, obviously you're going to have to kind of go into the park property a little bit to probably, build, that new fence or wall. So I'm just asking about the impact there.
Yeah, so Scott has already received a permit to rebuild the wall. The wall that's there now is pretty good, accurate, or pretty accurate representation of the new wall. There will be a fence that starts at a certain point, kind of near the top of the dune, that goes to the shoreline setback of 40 feet. And that would kind of be a fence that, if you're familiar with it, so that'll be where the sand dune is. And the rest of the wall will just be replacing what's there. The current wall is falling down. So the impact during construction is only what's needed to excavate the existing soil out of that area. But once it starts to climb up the dune, it changes to a wood fence at grade.
Yeah. Okay.
Are there any other public questions?
I have one more question, Chair. I have hundreds of shear waters in my yard underneath my house and everything. So I'm assuming, construction will have to definitely go around their breeding habitats. They're here from March through December. And once
That'll
the nest,
be a requirement of DPP to phase the construction during that time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank
Okay,
you.
Cindy Turner.
Yes. Thank you for the presentation. You zipped by what the elevations look like. I believe the current house is just a single story. And how tall is the new structure?
The new structure differs at different points, but it's all within the land use ordinance guidelines of under 25 feet. It is made up of a two-story structure at the Mackay side and then one-story structures at Mauka of that. So the garage, both pavilions are all one story.
Because I noticed that you're saying it's not going to have any impact to, is it the view plane or any impact to the sidelines? I just feel like it is going to be rather overwhelming, as you see it from the park. I hope you're going to be putting in a lot of landscaping.
That is the plan, yeah.
Why don't you have any illustrations?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I was going to say, I'm surprised you do not have any illustrations that show better what the public is going to see when this is built.
Okay.
All right, are there any other public questions? We'll shift to board member questions. Gary Weller.
Hi. Some of these concerns was presented in our meeting, but let's go over them again so we're on record, okay? The pool, the footings, the rock wall footings, and any other excavation on the property. You will have a cultural advisor there the whole time those are occurring?
We will have whatever DPP requires and whatever is required by law.
Okay. The footings for the house, do you have any idea they're depth yet? 4 feet, 5 feet, 6
Probably
feet,
the deepest is 24 inches,
24 inches. And the pool, what was the depth? I couldn't read it on the
5 feet.
5 feet at the deepest point. And is that going to be a rock wall on the beach side,
No.
hollow tile?
On the beach side or on the ocean side, we will not have any walls on the property that separates, or the wall that separates this property from the beach side. That would be a CMU retaining wall.
So which side, the right or the left?
The right side if you're facing the ocean.
And what will be on the other side?
Right now, I'm not sure what he has planned for that. That's already been permitted and not part of.
That would be a
section.
designated line between the next residence and this property, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah.
That's all my questions for right now. Thank you.
Okay, other board questions? Steve Trecker.
I don't know if this is working. Yeah, I guess it's working. Can you remind the board as to the setback in this situation is 40 feet, correct? Ocean setback. What is the new setback rule going to be and when does it go into effect?
So any project that got through or accepted into permitting July 1st of this year and is able to wrap up their permitting and be issued a permit by July 1st of next year will be subject to current setbacks. After that, it goes into a pretty difficult formula. It's 85 times the annual erosion rate plus the existing shoreline survey, which ends up being different for each property, and each section of the property is different because the equation differs almost every 10 feet. So there is a map that you can go to and get the multiplier for all of these areas. So each one of them is different. So I can't really answer that, certainly not off the top of my head, but I could get you the answer.
Is it safe to say that if, say, this didn't go into effect this year or next year, that it would be more than 40 feet?
Yes.
Thank you.
Other board questions online? Sorry, Evan Weber.
Yeah, just one pretty simple question, hopefully. Yeah, as is previously mentioned, it's a large property, 7 bathrooms. Can you describe the family that's going to be living there and what the intended use of the property is?
Sorry, I have a hard time hearing.
That's okay. I'll repeat it. Large property, 7 bathrooms. Can you describe the intended use of the property, family that's going to be living there, how often they're going to be there, et cetera?
Yeah, Scott LaRue and his family will be living there. So the intended use of the property is a single family dwelling.
Any further details you want to provide there?
How many bedrooms or how many bathrooms they want to use? Or, I'm sorry, what is the question?
Is it a large family or?
Large family.
Okay.
Okay.
My understanding is it's a husband and wife and 2 kids.
All right, well, we thank you
sorry.
for the presentation. And we'll move on to the first motion. The motion is the Kailua Neighborhood Board
Chair Hicks.
recommends that the following conditions be placed on the SMA application for the proposed construction of a 5,745 square foot house with 7 bathrooms and 5 parking spaces at 12 Kailua Road. This is a Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee motion. There are 14 conditions. Those 14 conditions are posted on our meeting materials. Donna Wong, would you like to amplify that?
No, this is a SMA application and there are certain requirements, thresholds that you have to meet within that law. And these are the conditions that we think should be placed on this property. Limiting lighting, protection for Pueo, and others. And unfortunately, we forgot to add the shearwaters. But that won't happen in the future. Thank you.
Would you like to amend the motion to add Shearwaters? Gary?
Lighting that's going to be on the house, can you describe that? How would affect the shear building?
Yeah, there's already requirements that you cannot have certain types of lighting on the house. So building department is discouraging anything shining out towards the ocean or anything that would kind of have that nighttime interference. So all those are part of the guidelines and requirements by TPP for these projects.
Condition 5, lighting prohibits artificial light from exterior light fixtures from directly illuminating or projecting across property boundaries toward the shoreline and ocean waters except as otherwise permitted by HRS 205 Alpha 71 Bravo. Also requires exterior light fixtures to be fully shielded. Also requires exterior lighting to be turned off when human activity is not occurring in the illuminated area. That's condition 5 of the motion. Dunawang.
Yes, but I think what she was referring to is the shearwaters nesting. And so probably should add a condition, the construction not occur between September 15th and December 15th, because it would be nesting. If she says she has a lot of shearwaters in her yard and it's adjacent to this property, probably guaranteed. they're nesting.
Condition 6 in the motion is that all project site work and construction activities are limited to daylight hours to avoid collisions and fatalities during seabird fledgling season between September 15 through December 15. Gary Weller. Gary Weller.
This is not an unusual thing to ask. All tree trimming companies in Hawaii is not allowed to trim any trees where shearwaters would be nesting during that season. So there are different rules about this already. So this would not be an unreasonable request. Thank you.
Other board member questions online? Audience questions? Yes, ma'am. We could get her microphone. No, it's being recorded.
My question is with regards to birds. The living area is going to be on the second floor. And from the elevation, it seemed like the whole ocean side of that second floor were windows. So while the chair was talking about lighting would seem to be exterior lighting, how can the interior lighting not be taken into account with regards to wildlife, in particular birds?
I don't have an answer for you. How could exterior lighting
not be taken into account? I mean, that's going to be a lot of light. I mean, assuming the family actually lives there, it's going to be a lot of light coming out of the living areas, right? So how can that not be taken into account with regards to birds?
But just to confirm, you're complying with all DPP requirements.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're not able to get a building permit without complying with their requirements.
Thank you.
Okay, Sarah Gilman, sir.
Yeah, thank you. I understand that Scott and his family wasn't going to live there, but maybe they've changed their mind. He told me that he wasn't. And the second thing, my house is set 40 feet back from the high water mark. We built in July 2009, and the indoor lighting isn't, I guess I want to say regulated. It's Of course, my house is not that high, and much smaller square footage, but it's just if there's, lights shining out as the birds, come in. So I think indoor lighting, but again, my house is small, so I don't think there's any regulations regarding indoor lighting. But yeah, and I think Donna Wong, I've seen in other SMAs additions that you wanted added in there, more specific to, if birds are nesting, then, construction must cease for a certain number of days, or, you can't be within, 100 feet or something like that. But I don't know if that was considered. So.
All right, any other discussion on the motion?
Hi,
Chef Klein.
Hi, I'm kind of new at this, and I'm not, I worked on a lot of projects for the Navy and the Air Force and the Coast Guard, working on the oceans and into the ocean in some cases. And you mentioned that you complied with all the appropriate regulations. And I'm not sure if it applies or not, but we were always required to coordinate with the agencies, NOAA and the State Department of Health, and whoever happened to be Fish and Wildlife, and they would review our plans, that sort of thing. I just wondered if you went through the same process.
That is a requirement of SMA that you notice and give opportunity for different state agencies, including U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and a handful of other state and federal agencies. So they are all notified for the requirements. I think we've received a few replies so far, but
All right, any other questions? Okay, call for the vote. Again, this is a motion to recommend 14 conditions on this project. Josiah Cow? Aye. Travis Council? Aye. Kellyanne Kobayashi?
Yes.
Aye. David Laea? David Laea?
Sorry, yes.
Aye. Jade Lau? Mike Lee? Lavani Lipton? Carol Miyashiro? Kayla Morel? Aye. Kate Ryder?
Aye.
Aye. Claudine Tomasa?
Aye.
Aye. Steve Trecker? Aye. Evan Weber? Abstain? Gary Weller? Aye. John White?
Aye.
Aye. Donna Wong? Aye. Jeff Suckernick?
Aye.
Aye. And chair votes aye. Motion passes 13-0, one abstention. Mahalo. But you don't need to sit down because next presentation is on the SMA EA permit application for 275 Kailua Drive, Pearl Mensch.
yeah, okay, thank you. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Format of this one is the same as the last one, so I'll go through it. If you have any questions, I guess we can either catch them at the end or now, but this project is not on the shoreline. It is up on the hillside. It is in an SMA, which all of Lanikai is in an SMA due to sewer restrictions. We are falling under this SMA program, and I think we're actually exempt in making that argument for it, but I would still need to go through this process. So this project is located near the trailhead to the pillbox hike and across the street from Mid-Pac Golf Course, just for some general reference. Next slide, please. We have a similar land use standard for this one, R10 residential zone. The first column there does show all the requirements and limits for that zoning, and our proposed action be the middle column, and we are in conformance with all land use standards and requirements and limitations. First project here is an overview. This project is a little different, it has a kind of a confusing history, but I think it's important to understand. So we received a permit for this house in 2018 and started building in 2019. As we started construction, there's a water feature that's behind that garage. There's a rock feature that was behind that garage that when uncovering it, we decided to turn it and incorporate it into the house as a water feature and landscaping element within the house. So that was new work that was outside of our original scope of our permitting, as well as the garage that's at that main house level. So we were cited with the NOB in November of 21 and submitted plans to that included the new scope of work in December of 21. Sat in permitting in the pre-screening phase for 2 years. This was during the height of COVID and the height of the transfer of the building department from manual plans or in-person plan applications to e-plans, which presented a huge learning curve to both the applicants and the building department. So we sat in pre-screening for this for approximately 2 years, and you weren't able to get a hold of anybody at the building department to work through these. There was an issue they had with their bot, what they call it, that did the initial pre-screening. And so they were kicking back plans that didn't have these very precise spacing requirements. So after 2 years and no replies for the building department, I finally started calling the mayor's office and was able to work through the pre-screening things, which turned out to be the errors of the bot and the screener. So we moved through that and got it finally into review in February of this year. We had no requirements to do an SMA in the building application. I think Donna has that. I have a copy of it. There were no requirements under the required review or SMA. So that became a requirement 2 months ago, approximately. So I'm now trying to process this as well as trying to work with the building department to understand why. And we are exempt under the law for this. And so I'm currently working through that process. So this would be what the final house would look like. It is up at 117 feet above sea level, with the lowest point on the property being 100 feet above sea level. We are not in a flood zone. We are not on the coast, near the coast, nor are we impacted by wave or coastal concerns. This is the ground floor of the residence. Next slide, please. This would be, there was an existing house there, an existing dwelling before we started the project in 2018. This was a garage that we converted into a basement and den. So this shows kind of the lowest level of the house, which is subgrade, and some retaining walls. Next slide, please. This again is the first floor plan. So you can see at the right-hand side would be the garage. As you move to the left is our pond and water feature. Moving further to the left, laundry rooms, bedrooms. On the lower portion of the slide are our living room, kitchens, pool, and pool pavilion. Next slide, please. This would be the upper level. So we have 2 bedrooms on the upper level, stairway that wraps around the water feature to connect to those bedrooms. Next slide, please. So again, we have our significant criteria required for our SMA, which are our cultural, environmental, and other criteria that we must meet with the project. Next slide, please. So we are in a residential R10 zoning. There's an existing dwelling there. We are replacing it with another residential, or sorry, another single family dwelling, which is within the zoning code allowances under R10 residential zoning. Next slide. Our project does not conflict with any state environmental policies, long-term environmental goals. Again, we are not on the coast. We are not subject to any coastal hazards nor flood hazards. And we're not increasing the density. We're staying within the restrictions of the R10 zoning, so we have no additional impact on social services, economic welfare, or cultural practices in the community. Next slide, please. Again, because we're not increasing density, we do not have any adverse effects on public health in those facilities. Next slide, please. The red line should represent the outline of the property. It's not quite aligned. It should shift up and to the left, but that's what we have. So we do have a pillbox trail. Anyone familiar with the area? The pillbox trail kind of starts where the green, almost where the green dot is, and it runs up the side of the property, well, up the side of the driveway, then up the side of the property and up onto the trail. Next slide, please. So the trail access is one of the building department's main concerns and our impact on it. The slide on the right shows there's a current existing roadway that serviced the pillboxes World War II. They were decommissioned. I don't have a date on when they're decommissioned, but it was after the war. And they've been in private use for the past 50 plus years, or private ownership over the past 50 years. So there's 3 neighbors that own the access, and they have been working with DLNR. The slide you see on the right is DLNR's environmental study on doing their trail improvements. So the existing neighbors have been working with DLNR over the past 5 years to help realign the existing easements to coordinate with what they have from Bluestone in an attempt to make a wider corridor that they could do trail improvements to mainly focus on their erosion and runoff issues that they have. Next slide, please. So the project does not have any adverse environmental effects. It is not part of a larger development, so it does not have any cumulative effects. Next slide, please. The property itself, with the last owner, who was a botanist at UH, was completely scraped and overhauled over his ownership, and he had planted lots of different plants from kind of all over the world. So some of those still exist. Some of them have just been overgrown with Halikoa. We in our landscaping have tried to clear out the Halikoa and put in plants that would maintain the soil, reduce runoff, and soil erosion. Sorry. So we will not have any adverse effect on plants, habitats, air quality, ambient noise levels. Next slide, please. Again, so we are not on the coast, so we are not subject to any of the coastal considerations, nor are we in the flood zones. We're not affected by any of the flood zone restrictions or any of the coastal concerns. Next slide, please. This is a map showing the tsunami affected zone. We're not in the tsunami zone. Next slide, please. We do not have any adverse effects on scenic or view planes. Next slide, please. This is the Walaukolko Sustainable Community Plan. So excuse me, all the areas within the yellow are zoned for urban use, and We are not seeking to change any of that. Next slide, please. We do not have any requirements of substantial energy consumption or emitting greenhouse gases. Next slide, please. Do you have any questions?
All right, questions, and we'll start with audience questions on the presentation. Sure. Any online? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So you already have approval that you can have 6 bathrooms,
6 family rooms.
bathrooms.
Yes. So the land use governor and sets all the limits for all R10 residential properties. That's all of the residential properties. So they set a maximum limit. And everyone is allowed to have as many bathrooms as they want up to that.
Okay, I'm just trying to relate this to a resident being told several years ago that the area didn't have enough sewer capacity to add an ADU with 1 bathroom. And I'm trying to figure that out. That doesn't compute. And why does a single family home need 11 parking spaces?
That's a requirement. They're attempting to get more cars off of the public roads and accommodate on-site parking. But it's just a requirement.
Are those, and that they'll be constructed of permeable they will be a permeable material?
The parking is non-permeable. It has to be a hard surface. So this lot is 39,000 square feet. So we're allowed 75% non-permeable surface. I believe we're about 39%. So we're well under the allowable.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other public questions? All right, board member questions on the presentation. Steve Trecker.
Just to clarify for the benefit of the board, particular city ordinance or regulation requires 11 parking spaces for this.
It's in the land use ordinance, which I believe is chapter 21.
What part of chapter 21 requires 11 parking spaces?
I could look at it and give it to you. I don't have that information on the top of my head.
Thank you.
Gary Weller.
You know, the state put out an environmental statement and a plan to redo the trail. How far away from the trail is this property?
The trail, the property line of the trail, but the existing access.
So just give me a figure, like how close is the trail to the house? 10 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet?
So there's actually a big story that's happening right here. One of the neighbors is here, and so I don't want to overspeak, but the neighbors have been trying to give the existing access, which isn't used, and you can't use it because it's over private land. They've been trying to give this to DLNR over the last 5 years in order that DLNR can take what they have, which is a 10-foot wide easement that abuts the property line in the road, add the existing easement, realign it so that they would have a 20-foot wide corridor in order to use for their improvements. For their improvements, trail improvements. No. So the DLNR, I know that they're at a standstill. DLNR would not address some of the neighbors' concerns of liability. We've got 1,000+ people a day walking over your property, and they would not indemnify the owners against that liability. So that was one of the big issues that's really held everything up. The existing owner, or I'm sorry, the owner of this property, his name's Tim Smythe. He is in discussions right now with DLNR to donate a portion of his land in order to help DLNR with this. So initially, it was going to be in a realignment of the existing 10-foot wide roadway that is an easement over his property. He was going to give them 10 feet. He is currently in discussions with them to give them additional square footage in their EA, which I think went before this board. They always have to lay out different alternatives. So their best case alternative was to do a switchback, and that would handle the erosion issues that they have and runoff issues. And that was the best design to handle that. So he's working on it with them right now in order to do that. So that would require approximately 30 feet. So he's looking to give them 20 feet by 250 feet roughly, or approximately 5,000 square feet of land in order for them to make those trail improvements possible. Without it, they won't be able to do it. They'll be stuck with stairs, which do not stop runoff and erosion. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Every rain event there dumps thousands of gallons of dirt and sediment down into the roadway that washes into storm system and then eventually the ocean. So he's an active participant in donating his land to try and solve this problem.
Any other board member questions online? Donald Wong?
So the land that the neighbor wants to donate, is it flat?
It's not
or
the
is
neighbor, it's the owner of this property, Mr. Smythe.
Okay, the owner of this property. Is that land flat? So that, is it flat or is it on the hill?
It's on an angle. The trail itself goes up a pretty steep angle, so it approximately matches the slope.
So they
of the-
could move, DLNR could move the trail over to that property. It doesn't have to,
No, they can't.
if it's
private.
donated, if it's donated? Isn't that what you
Yeah.
just said?
Yeah, so he is looking to donate a portion of his land, a 20-foot wide strip by the length of that property, which is about 250 feet. He's looking to donate that to DLNR so that they combine his 20 feet that he's looking to donate with their 10 feet in order that they have a 30-foot wide path. And that's the only way that they'd be able to achieve the switchback design that they prefer and is the best design in order to stop erosion.
Which DLR would
So
prefer?
my
We're
que-
talking about a neighbor's property.
I'm sorry, I missed it.
You're talking about a neighbor.
No, I'm talking about the owner of this property.
Oh, okay. Okay.
275.
I misunderstood. Please continue.
There was previous work over the last 5 years that included the neighbors, but that has stalled out due to liability.
Understand. Donald Wong?
So my question is the land that he's donating, I know it's on a hill, but it's not on a downward hill. It's level so that they could use it for the switchback. It wouldn't require any infill, any other soil to be brought in.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're done with the questions on the presentation. Mahalo for the presentation. The next item is the motion with this, but before we go on to the motion, I would like to correct the vote on the previous motion on 12 Kailua Road. I did not ask Jeff Klein, and we did not record a vote for Jeff Klein on 12 Kailua Road. Jeff, would you like to vote yes, no, or abstain on that last motion?
Very complicated, but typically have coordinated with the.
Okay, that's a vote in the affirmative, and my apologies for not calling on you. Okay, the next order of business is the motion. The Kailua Neighborhood Board recommends that the following conditions be placed on the SMA application for the proposed construction of a 10,732 square foot house with 6 bathrooms and 11 parking spaces at 275 Pulu Drive. This is a Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee motion. There are 6 conditions that are proposed. Donna, would you like to amplify on that? Okay, these are in the meeting materials that have been online for about 10 days. Is there any public discussion on the motion? Online? Is there any board member discussion on the motion? Online? No discussion. I call for the vote. Josiah Cow.
Aye.
Aye. Travis Council. Aye. Jeff Klein.
Aye.
Aye. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Yes.
Aye. David Laea. David Laea. Jade Lau.
Sorry, yes.
David
Sorry.
Laea. Aye. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Lavani Lipton. Harold Miyashiro. Kayla Morrell.
Aye.
Aye. Kate Ryder. Kate Ryder. Claudine Tomasa.
Aye.
Aye. Steve Trecker. Aye. Evan Weber. Aye. Gary Weller. Aye. John White.
Aye.
Aye. Donald Wong. Aye. Jeff Suckernick.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye.
I had left anyway.
Motion passes unanimously with 14 votes. Is there anyone
Really?
here for the presentation on 604 Delta North Kalaheo Avenue?
I'm here. I'm online.
Okay.
No.
Rachel Okochi, would you like to proceed with your presentation as expeditiously as you can? This,
Sure.
this presentation was reviewed by Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee, and which had no comments or any proposal for a motion. Go ahead, Rachel.
Okay, 1 second. Um, is someone able to actually share the presentation?
Can you repeat? This is the neighborhood assistant. Can you repeat that, Rachel? I'm
Oh,
sorry.
could you put the presentation up for me? I'm trying to share my screen, but I'm not having.
Would you be able to email that to me very quickly?
Sure. It's also up on the website.
Oh, it's on the Google Drive.
Yes.
Gotcha. 1 second. I'll share my screen in 1 moment. You can confirm with me, okay?
Okay.
Is this the correct document?
Yes.
Awesome. Just let me know next slide and I'll continue to scroll down. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hi, I'm here on behalf of Timothy and Jennifer Bum. They have a residence at 604D North Kalaheo Avenue. It's a less than a half-acre parcel. The property is currently developed as residential in an urban district. It is in the SMA, which is why we're applying for a SMA permit. Next slide. So the project consists of replacing all the exterior siding, most of the windows and some exterior doors. They are also putting in a addition to the entry of the house, and we'll be taking out a room. the project also involves the removal of the existing spa and pool and construction of a new in-ground pool and spa. So these are the statistics for the house. The new work actually includes a 188 square foot covered lanai, which will be covering the new entry and the new patio roof. Next slide. So this is a figure showing where the project is, right on the water. Next slide. And this is just a zoom in of the TMK for the property. As you can see, the existing structure is depicted there. Next slide, please. Topographic map of where the project is. Next slide. The site is located in flood zone X, which is most of the land that is Mackay there. Next slide, please. And it is also located in the evacuation zone. Next slide. Part of the SMA permit requirements involves looking at the sea level rise projected for the future. And at the 3.2 foot mark, the site is depicted with that red dot. And it is not being affected by sea level rise at the 3.2 foot mark. Next slide. The next slide shows passive flooding at the 3.2 foot mark. And again, the site is not affected. Next slide, please. And with the annual high wave flooding at the 3.2 foot mark, the site is still not impacted. Next slide, please. And this figure depicts the coastal erosion. It shows the current vegetation line, as well as the different sea level inundations or coastal erosions, and it does not affect the property. Next slide, please. So this figure depicts the existing property. The figure is split. So the bottom portion is actually just the driveway, which connects up, and you can kind of see there's a match line that attaches the driveway to the rest of the property. So this is an existing structure, and all the work that will be done will be taking place in the existing footprint that has already been affected by previous work. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the first floor of the property. Next slide, please. And this is the second floor, which shows the new roofing that will be put in. Next slide, please. And this is just additional information on the roofing. Next slide. This slide shows the swimming pool and spa area. The solid lines are the new swimming pool and spa that will be put in. The more faded hash lines kind of in the background that are more oval in shape are the existing pool and spa. So they will be, the new pool and spa will be going in where the existing ones are currently. And next slide, please. Oops. Figure title is incorrect, but this figure shows the impervious surface area versus the new impervious surface area. So there will be a decrease in impervious surface area with the new construction plans. And that is it.
All right, mahalo, Rachel. Are there any questions on the presentation? We'll start with the audience first. Online? Any board member questions? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Also, I want to thank you for including the information on your website so that we could see the plans. My question has to do with the pavers that are going to go on the driveway and can be perhaps included in the 5-foot right-of-way that is part of their driveway. It looks to me as though it's part of the driveway. I'm on the other street that is adjacent to Kalaheo, and Mahiloa has their own private access. So my question has to do with pavers and if there would be some delineation, fencing, something that delineates 5 feet from 3 feet that appears on this to be extending the driveway. Can you help me with that, please?
I will actually have to get back to you on that and ask the architects that have put this design together.
Looking at the plans, I'm just questioning whether there is some extension that will go into the 5 feet that is designated as right of way for the Kalaheo side, and what the implications might be in terms of the other private way. Are you suggesting that although it's shown in the plans, we don't really know how that's going to be implemented?
In looking at the plans, it appears that they're stopping at their property line. What goes beyond their property line, I really could not speak to.
But there is in the plans a description that pavers will be included on this renovation. Question
Yes,
is,
it says they're
it is
replacing-
part of their property, the extra 5 feet. My understanding is that's part of their property, but one side has deeded access to that 5 feet to have access to the beach. That's my question, because they can't say this is our private property, but there still has to be the access for the residents.
Okay, I'm actually an environmental consultant, so I'm looking at the drawings the same as you. I would really, to get those kind of details, I'd have to actually ask the architect about it.
Thank you very much.
If you would like to provide me with your name and email address, I will forward that to Rachel so they can get a response to you. Any board member discussion on the presentation? Online? Okay, mahalo.
Thank you.
Okay, the next order of business is the motion that the Kailua Neighborhood Board supports the Kailua Hawaiian Civic Club resolution to protect Iwi Kapuna in Kailua. This is a Planning, Zoning, and Environment Committee motion. Donna Wong, would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, this is an important motion. Everybody who lives in Kailua knows, you live in downtown Kailua, Coconut Grove, you dig in the sand, the Iwi Kapuna. So the only time that the public gets a chance to even comment on what is happening at a home that's in Kailua is when it's within the SMA. And so this is proposing that all homes, even how far they are, even up to those next to Kawainui, Anoniava, must be looked at for EV Kapuna before even construction of a pool. I think it's a great resolution, and I urge everyone to support it.
Donna, just a follow-up question to that.
Travis Council?
Is this resolution being presented someplace other than at the board? Where's the Kailua Hawaiian Civic Center Club presenting or submitting this resolution? Just us?
No, it was presented to the Oahu Preservation Commission.
Are there any questions or comments from the audience? Online? John, we'll move on to board member questions and comments. John White?
Thank you, Chair. Donna, do you know if this were to pass, what type of monetary impact that will give to people trying to build on their properties?
You're a little bit garbled, John. You're asking Donna Wong a question. If you could say it again, please.
Yeah, sorry, Chair. Hopefully this is better. If I'm hearing that correct, we're proposing that all homes fall under that. And anybody have any numbers on how that will affect the production value on homes? If that needs to be added, seems like that's an extra cost that will be incurred by the homeowner when trying to build. If I'm hearing it correct.
No, this is just asking that DPP with SHPD to create a monitoring plan. So I don't know how, I don't have any other numbers.
And just for the record, this applies to projects on zoned properties. As it would pertain to the berm, which periodically is opened and is opened when weather conditions require it. What I had been told is that this would not apply to that because that is not an area that is being excavated for a project. Is that correct?
All this is saying is it's just asking for a monitoring plan.
Okay. All right. Is there any other board member discussion?
Is that for all of Kailua? Because where I live on 1 Hour Road, it's solid clay once you get down. You know, I had to dig a hole we got a dog, and my wife wanted one of those doggy doo-doo things. I had to dig a hole 4 feet deep, and it was almost impossible for me to get it done. But anyway.
All right. Any other discussion? I call for the vote. Josiah Akau.
I abstain.
Abstain. Travis Council. Aye. Jeff Klein. Aye. Kellyanne Kobayashi.
Yes.
Aye. David Laea. David Laea.
Aye.
Aye. Jade Lau. Mike Lee. Lavani Lipton. Carol Miyashiro.
they
Kayla
already saw that.
Monroe. Aye. Kate Ryder. Claudine Tomasa.
Aye.
Aye. Steve Trekker. Aye. Evan Weber. Abstain. Gary Willer. Aye. John White.
Abstain, Chair.
Abstain. Donna Wong. Aye. Jeff Suckernick.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye. All right, the motion passes 11 in favor, 0 opposed with 3 abstentions. All right. This is kind of late for local agency reports, but that's the next item of business. Board of Water Supply Representative Danny Ornelas, are you online? Marine Corps Base, Hawaii. Aloha, Christy.
Aloha. Good evening, Chair, members of the board and community. Just a couple of updates. During August 31st, which was actually just last Saturday, Marine Corps McTab area hosted Iolani's Cross Country. We had 900 high school students from public and private schools participate. That location is a very safe area for them to be able to do a cross country. It's fenced in, and so it's safe and it's large. We had positive reviews from the parents. They appreciate being able to host that there. Upcoming, we are anticipating having Popolea to dock along the windward side, and they have requested if they can come back to Mokapu and do a community outreach there, also at Mo'olo'e and Hi'ia. So we're working with both Hawaii Institute of Marine Biology, University of Hawaii, and the state harbors and Hi'ia, and of course to come and also dock at Mokapu. So between the three of us, we're going to be able to host some of the schools. As you know, Mokapu Elementary Board, Marine Corps Base Hawaii, has a high student population. They have an organization that is coordinated through Hillary, who is wonderful with the students, and they have an Aloha Ambassador program. And the focus will be to just extend all of that educational opportunity with the voyaging canoe coming and bringing that education. So we're excited to be able to, participate with that. Just one thing that's coming up that we wanted to let you folks know on September 12th, there's going to be a change of command, and during that change of command, there's going to be the use of cannons, which will be before noon, and it could be relatively loud. The ceremony is hosted on the Kaneohe Bay side and may not be heard in Kailua, but just in case, we wanted to let you know that it's simply a change of command. I'm not sure how many rounds that they will do. Typically not more than about 10 or 12, but if Major Fox is on, then he can correct me. But
It's usually an odd number.
yeah. And that's all that we have for right now.
All right, mahalo. Are there questions for Marine Corps Base Hawaii? Gary Willer.
Where's the base commander going? Because I really liked him.
Well, it's not our current base commander. It is he's over Mickey Pack, so he's higher. But he actually lives on the base and he's at Camp Smith, but he's having the ceremony at the Marine Corps base. So not ours. We're keeping Colonel Bevan.
Okay. And then the second thing is, what time does the back gate close?
I believe on the weekdays, it's 10 o'clock, and it may be earlier during the weekend. I do know that it's on our website, but I can clarify it and get that information for you.
It is 10 p.m. on weekdays, but weekends, it's.
My thought there is that you have this gigantic screen that welcomes people on the base past the jig jog thing. Why don't you turn that off when you close the back gate? Because it lights up the ocean and it lights up all the way up to the mountains. I can see it every night. So, I mean, it's a waste of electricity if nobody's coming in the gate to welcome them on the base. And it would be cheap to put a timer on it.
I will bring that up to them. That's a
Good, thank you. Aloha.
Other board questions for Marine Corps Base Hawaii? Claudine Tomasa.
Mr. Chair, thank you. Was there any follow-up in regards to my question last month about ospreys flying over Kaimilino during the months of April, May, June?
They did say that they checked the flight patterns and there was nothing that was off of any regulations or any paths that didn't follow what they have submitted for training. Just for your information though, there will be a new updated noise reporting system. We should have that out in the next week or two, and I'll be able to provide the link for that. And it'll be a fillable form that automatically will be generated into our inbox that has detailed information that you can put in the aircraft, the time of the day, that we can get right away.
Christy, can you just clarify so I understand what you're saying? There was no pattern of ospreys flying over Kaimilino during the months of April, May, and June. That's the response from the base.
That is the information that was provided to me, yes.
Thank you.
Other questions? Online? Okay, mahalo. We move on to resident and community concerns. If anyone has a concern, we're all ears for up to 3 minutes. Any online? All right, mahalo. Next item are the mayor and governor's reports. We'll start with Mayor Blangiardi's representative. We have Jim Ireland or Shane Enright.
Good evening, Shane Enright here for Director Jim Ireland. Thank you for having me. You should have gotten the mayor's newsletter, but a couple of highlights from it. The mayor and the city is taking action to address the crime in Waianae. Also, nearly 30 brand new security cameras have been installed in the Chinatown area, and more are on their way. And there was a, excuse me, a hoarder house on Pensacola Street, which after years they have begun demolition on. As far as concerns, we only had one that we were asked to address, and that had to do with speeding, actually by that back gate of Mokapu Road by the Marine Corps Base Hawaii, and the sign apparently is not working. So the Department of Transportation is compiling a list of where these speed back signs might not be working, and that sign has been added to their list, so they will be getting that back up and running. And it was now it seems like a few hours ago, but a question on fentanyl and fentanyl use in Kailua specifically. So as the EMS representative, I will try to see what data I can collect and get that back to the board next month. If there's any questions, I'm here to answer them. If not, I hope you all have a great night.
Questions for Shane Enright, Travis Council.
Aloha, Shane. Travis Council, Chair of the Transportation Committee. One topic that comes up frequently in the Transportation Committee is the stoplight or approved yet not installed stoplight at Aulike and Ku'ule near Kailua Elementary School. I've emailed DTS several times on this and kind of gotten no answer, a reply, but no answer of they'll check with other people. So I'm wondering if you can check in on that for me as well. It was approved, I believe, in 2012, and each year they say they'll complete it by the end of this year. So Aulike and Pu'ule stoplight. Thank you.
And may I just ask you, what do you mean by, what is it it's exactly supposed to look like or do?
So it should be an installation of a new stoplight, a proper stoplight at that intersection, kind of across from Salvation Army there.
Got it.
Traffic
Thank you.
light at
Traffic, yeah.
McDonald's. This was under Safe Routes to Schools. It was proposed by the city in 2011. They asked if the Kailua Neighborhood Board supported it. We said yes in 2012. And for almost every year since 2012, the city has said, yes, it's going to go in this year. And, you know, we're asking our annual question, and we'd like a response. Thank you.
Got it.
All right. No other questions. We move on to Evan Weber.
Great. Yeah, I just wanted to take the opportunity to give a mahalo to the Blongiardi administration and particularly Parks Director Thielen, those who have been following along in the community and on this board since arriving on the neighborhood board. I have been working tirelessly for the past year, basically, to try to get soap dispensers in our bathrooms here in Kailua. And I am happy to announce to the community that as of a few weeks ago, Director Thielen informed me that a vandal-proof soap dispenser is being manufactured and shipped to Hawaii to install our first pilot test at the Kailua Beach Park bathrooms here in Kailua. We hope will be the first of many, and we're grateful, even though it took a while, to the Blongiardi administration for working with us to give this a try and improve the public health and safety of our community.
Thank you.
Yeah,
washing our hands. Yeah.
We're going to get that quicker than the traffic signal. But no, this really is noteworthy, and we appreciate the pilot project, and hopefully, if it's successful, it can be spread island-wide. Good initiative. Mahalo. All right, we move on to Governor Josh Green's representative, Aaron Connor.
Good evening. I have Governor's newsletter here for you this evening, and as well as was sent to Chair Hicks this week to provide to your meeting materials. I think we had 2 questions last month for the state, or from a couple months left over. A question about how often does DOH test for PFAS in Oahu waters, specifically in the marsh areas. So the Department of Health says that the main ways that people in Hawaii may be exposed to PFAS are through food, personal products, contaminated drinking water, and contaminated dust. PFAS tests are conducted regularly for drinking water, but not for Oahu surface waters generally, or Kawainoe Marsh specifically. While the EPA currently does not regulate PFAS, which have been in the environment since the 1940s, Department of Health's Safe Drinking Water Branch regularly informs the public about first-time PFAS detections in drinking water sources. DOH also conducts research projects to better understand the presence of PFAS contamination in the environment. And they provided me a link to their website, which has a ton of information that was also provided to Chair Hicks today. So hopefully he passed that on to the question asker for PFAS. The second question was regarding the Hawaii Loa HPU campus and the sale of Adventist Health. The state's response to that question is they continue to be in discussions with Adventist to better understand the deed restrictions, including the EIS that was completed before determining its next steps. So they're still working through those details before they make any decisions. Those are the two questions I had that I have answers for, but I'm happy to take any others back with me this month.
Mahalo. Questions for Aaron? Travis Council?
Hello, Aaron. Transportation question.
Yes.
Kailua Road, Highway 61, or the poly highway that comes into Kailua Road. Just looking to get an update on a repaving timeline for that. I'm on HDOT's website right now. It does not list that as a future project, even though it does list the pavement condition as poor. So I was just curious to get an update. I know Kalani Aniole will be getting repaved in the coming years, but I haven't heard anything about Kailua Road. So basically Castle Medical down into Kailua town.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Other questions for the governor's representative? Online? Okay, mahalo, Aaron. Something I meant to mention under the mayor's report, kudos to the Department of Environmental Services, which has activated a new web page portal called Kailua Shoreline Water Quality. And it provides residents with periodic testing information for the 7 shoreline stations, which are sampled 3 times a week, as well as the zone of mixing, which is tested once a month. That is on the ENV's main webpage, and it's a lot of people have asked for this for a long time. envhonolulu.org. There's a quick link there to Kailua Shoreline Water Quality. All right, we'll move on to elected official reports. The order is randomly selected each month. We start with Representative Scott Matayoshi. Representative Natalia Hussey-Burdick. Senator Chris Lee. Representative Lisa Martin. Aloha, Lisa.
I'm trying to.
Okay, we hear you. No, you've muted again. We heard you for a couple of seconds.
I think I'm unmuted now.
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. So I just for partnering in getting the town hall going on the wastewater treatment plant. And I am going to put some links in the chat.
Lisa, you're cutting in and out. We understand you're going to put links in the chat on the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah.
We're not hearing you.
All right, so I just put some links in the chat for the video itself, as well as the slides. I'm getting it's not letting me enter. The link address must match the link address entered. Gosh. Anyways, I'll work on that after I quit speaking to share the slides as well as the site that you just mentioned, which really shows a lot of response by the City Department of Environmental Services to our concerns. But I wanted to share for those that don't have time to look into this, that what I took away more than anything is that the sewage treatment plant is not responsible for most of our problems near shore where people are recreating in the water. And there are funded plans, already construction started, to improve their system. So our biggest problem is the brown water, and that is not related to the sewage treatment plant. That is related to heavy rains and runoff that have much more complicated solutions, like absorbing our own stormwater on our own properties and reforestation, things like that, that we need to work on. Another thing I wanted to mention is our progress with little fire ants. So Lanikai just finished their 5th treatment. And at the midway point, which was 4 treatments, they did a large survey of all the properties. And what we found is that the treatment is really working. And the treatment is being done by people who are not all expert, including myself, volunteers. So we are not doing a perfect job, but the treatment is so good that it is working anyways. And I really want to get it going in all of our pockets, all of our infestations. To do that, we do need neighbors to give permission, which is something I've had trouble with in a Kailua Hills infested area. And the other thing we need is funding for staff, which has been a real uphill battle. But the good news is last week, I'm a member of the Hawaii Invasive Species Council, and last week, although the legislature did not fund the Hawaii Ant Lab, a bill that made it to conference to do so was killed at the last moment. They did fund it through the Hawaii Invasive Species Council. Not enough to grow our staff on Oahu, but at least to maintain them. And that's all. I'm open to any questions.
All right, questions for Lisa Martin? Questions online? Okay. Mahalo, Lisa. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next, Senator Jarrett Keahokalole, and representing Senator Keahokalole, we welcome Jamie Weisberg. Aloha.
Hello, Chair, members of the board, and members of the community. My name is Jamie Weisberg from the Office of Senator Keahokalole, and he asked me to provide a report on his behalf today. So during the interim, the Senator has been working on 3 legislative priorities in addition to the other community concerns. The first priority being co-chairing the governor's task force to address the property insurance crisis. His second priority has been working on the Red Hill Water Alliance initiative, which includes the governor, mayor, city council, and both chambers of the legislature. Currently, they're in the stages of negotiating an MOU with the Navy, and we hope that's going to secure a permanent commitment from the Navy to address Red Hill's aquifer mitigation. And the third priority we've been working on this interim has been with HECO and other local energy producers energy advocates on their long-term future. I'm happy to bring back any questions back to the Senator.
Okay, are there any questions? Gary Weller.
Thank you for being so early tonight. It was pleasant talking to you. We've had several board meetings, one in Waikai, one in Waimanalo, about the windmills offshore. And we understand that the company that most likely will be bidding on that bought the land in Kaneohe opposite the Hea Pier there that was owned by Hawaiian Electric for $3 or $4 million, which may be the landing point for the cable coming into the island for the power. I wanted to find out what the senator's opinion on this all is. So far, 2 boards have not been very happy about it. I'm hoping we make a decision too soon. But maybe this is an issue for Kaneohe also, because you folks will be able to see them from Kaneohe shoreline also. Thank you.
I will bring that back to the Senator and we'll address your question. Anything else?
Are there any other questions? Okay, I have a question. So, can the senator tell us where DOA is with the rhinoceros beetle? Have they promulgated rules, and where are those rules, and what's happening?
It's a loaded question.
Yes, I know
I
it
will
is.
back with a succinct answer.
Okay, thank you.
Jamie, there was an article published in, I believe, the Star Advertiser, and I believe it was last December 2023, that reported on, I think it was Progressive Energy, one of the people that are interested in the offshore wind farm. It was announcing that they had purchased land in Kaneohe for $4 million. And yeah, I'm just amplifying that there's a newspaper trail on that.
Be sure to adjust. If you'd like to send an email, articulate all the points
Okay,
better addressed.
all right. Are there other questions? All right, mahalo, Jamie. Councilmember Esther Kiana is in Washington, D.C. right now, I think, but I think her office is representing her.
Yes, I'm here.
Aloha.
Hello, Chair. Aloha, board members. My name is Gloria Palma. I am Councilmember Kia Aina's staff, and I'll be offering her report for September. 5 points. The first is that Councilmember Kia Aina was really pleased to attend the opening of the Kalama Beach Park Lifeguard Tower, which opened last week. She was grateful to be able to secure $125,000 in funding for the lifeguard tower, as well as secure positions during last year's budget, and is grateful to be able to work with the city administration to secure that necessary funding initiative. Item number 2, pavement repairs on Kaneohe Bay Drive are occurring in the Kahi area currently. The repairs will be occurring during the H3 freeway and Mokapu Boulevard location of Kaneohe Bay Drive. Repairs are ongoing and they'll be expected to be completed on Friday, October 18th, 2024. Roadwork hours are supposed to occur between 8:30 a.m. to 8:30 p.m. I will put this information in the chat, but for any questions or concerns, you're welcome to contact Bow Construction Management Service Incorporated. Third, the city is looking for comments for their environmental assessment regarding the Kailua Boat Ramp Improvement Project. You are welcome to email your comments to Thomas P. Lenny Smith. I will also put that information in the chat box. Yesterday, the full council adopted resolution 24-151 CD1, which would propose a Hawaiian homelands development in Kailua. Councilmember Kia Aina wants to extend her mahalo to the community and the board for submitting testimony on the issue. And finally, Councilmember Kia Aina is continuing to review with the Committee on Planning and the Economy, Bill 64, which is amending our city's land use ordinance. This month, they will be addressing accessory agricultural uses on Thursday, September 26th at 9:00 a.m. As a reminder, last month, the Planning and Economy Committee considered amendments to crop production, livestock keeping, and agricultural support, which is also part of agricultural uses. And so this month is a continuation of that review, but they will be reviewing accessory uses in agriculture, which do include beekeeping, which, as our office understands, is a very hot topic in the community. And that's all I have for updates from Councilmember. I'm happy to take back any questions to Councilmember Kia Aina. Thank you.
All right, are there any questions for Gloria representing Esther Kia Aina? Travis Council.
We just want to say mahalo to Esther for the support of Bill 52 regarding e-bikes and better definitions and regulations. It passed first reading yesterday, and we'll discuss it at our transportation committee next week. So just mahalo to her for the support there.
Of course, I will send that back.
All right, other questions online? Okay, mahalo. Gloria, we move on to Nicole Gray, representing U.S. Representative Jill Takuda. All right, next item is reports from members who attended other meetings. Any board member have other meetings to report online? All right. We have one remaining presentation, and it's an important one. This is an update from Randall Wakamoto, Stormwater Quality Division Administrator, on Department of Facilities Maintenance overview of efforts in Kailua for street sweeping and the Akiahala Water Quality Improvement Project. Mahalo, Randall.
Oh, thanks, Chair Hicks. Thanks for the rest of the board members and members of the public. Again, I'm Randall Wakamoto, the Program Administrator for our Stormwater Quality Division under our Department of Facility Maintenance. So I was asked to provide an update on a couple of things that we'd like to provide you for this community for Kailua. Let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to just do a couple of things. One is a proposal. Actually, it was a resolution that was passed by the Kailua Neighborhood Board to implement a restrictive parking plan for this community, and in order to allow the city's Department of Facility Maintenance to effectively sweep its streets. And then I'll provide an update on the stormwater quality project that we have along Akiahala Street. Yep, next slide. So again, this is just a brief update for the restrictive parking plan that we're developing. And this was a resolution, as I mentioned, was introduced in February of 2021. So thank you very much for your patience. I know it's taken some time, but we've done a lot of information gathering, meeting with the community, gathering parking counts, and observing what's going on in those communities in order to come up with a recommendation which would essentially allow our sweepers to come out, but also be able to avoid a lot of the conflicts that occurs in the streets. Next slide. So right now, currently, we're in the process of creating the signs that's going to be installed. You can see an example of one here. So there's going to be a total of 260 signs that are going to be installed throughout this community. Currently, they're in fabrication. They're estimated to be completed by early December. The installation is going to occur over 2 to 3 months, starting in December once they have been fabricated, and we're targeting to have them completed by February of 2025. The anticipated parking restrictions, we're expecting it to go into effect in late February or early March 2025, depending on when the installation has been completed. Slide. So here you can see just an example, a map of the sweeping route that's going to be taken. And it's going to cover 11 major streets in both the Enchanted Lakes area, as well as in the commercial areas of Hamakua, as well as in the Maunawili area that you can see here. Parking restrictions are going to be implemented twice a month. So it's the first Monday and the first Thursday of each month. The reason for that is to restrict parking on one side of each of the streets. So that way it allows the sweeper to get to that side of the street. And then on the other day, they'll be sweeping on the other side. Restrictions will be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on those days. And currently we're coordinating with the police department's Kailua station in terms of enforcing on those parking restrictions. So here's just a map, a roadmap of the implementation schedule. So like we mentioned, starting in this month of September 2024, where we wanted to present this to the neighborhood board, but currently we're working on the communication strategies that we're going to be using. So we're going to be putting, of course, out later on a press release. We're developing flyers. We're going to be developing, sending out mail outs to each of the affected residents, and also developing a social media post that people can get more information about this. Leading into later this year, like as I mentioned, in December of 2024 up to February of 2025, we'll be doing the installation of those signs. And then upon completion of that, then we'll be in 2025 of February, and then leading into March is when we're looking at effectively implementing that restricted parking schedule. At this point, I just wanted to also briefly provide an update on the Kailua stormwater quality improvements along Akiohala Street. Go on to the next slide. And this one, we have our design consultants, Brown and Caldwell, that's helping us putting this together. We had presented this project earlier in February of this year, and so we just wanted to provide an update. But just to kind of go back again, the purpose of this project is really to focus on water quality improvements that, or stormwater runoff that enters into the Kailua pond that coming from the city's drainage system. We're looking to install different types of structural best management practices to remove pollutants from the surface waters conveyed through that city storm drains, including metals, sediment, pesticides, bacteria, and other pollutants associated with the runoff. And we're putting an emphasis on green stormwater infrastructure, as well as making sure that we're able to maintain it, because we want to ensure that it is successful. So some of the constraints, of course, we were working on at the time is the time frame to implement. We mentioned that having to make sure the maintenance requirements was something that we were going to be able to maintain from a city standpoint. We're looking at the effectiveness as well as the cost. And so those are all things that we're taking into consideration. We looked at a number of sites during that time, and this time, the one that came up at the top of the list that met each of these criteria was the one along Akiohala Street. And I know we had a meeting out in the field, meeting with some of the constituents, and we know that people have some concerns, but we just want to assure you that this is really just the start of many more projects that we're going to be doing throughout this community. So this is just an aerial imagery of that area. You can see here on the end of Akiohala Street, there's a roadway that leads into Kailua High School from the backside. But at the end of that roadway along Akiohala Street, we're looking at putting in this biofiltration curb extension, which includes planting, gravel, amended soils, allow the water to flow into it, and it'll take a lot of the pollutants. And then at the other location, right at the midpoint of Akiohala Street, we're going to be installing a hydrodynamic separator, which is essentially an underground structure that allows water to flow to the pipe. It goes through this device that it allows to sort of swirl the water around, but it allows all the things to kind of settle out at the bottom, and that's how it kind of removes a lot of the pollution. So this is just a rendering of that biofiltration curb extension. You can see it's along the side of the road, but it allows water from the road to flow into this area where you can see there's going to be tree plantings, vegetated ground cover, amended soils, gravel. It allows water to soak into the ground. It's been proven from EPA and a lot of studies how effective this is. There's also, because of requests from our Department of Transportation Services, we've incorporated what you can see here is like a bike lane as well as parking. And this is really with a future plan from our Department of Transportation Services, where they're going to be doing a complete streets plan for this community. And this is sort of a way to start tying in that complete strands for both for pedestrians, but also for bikes and other modes of transportation. And then this is just an image of what a hydrodynamic separator looks like. It's actually going to be buried under the roadway, so you won't see anything except for the manhole covers at the surface. As I mentioned, the water flows from one side, it comes from the pipe. It goes into this swirl chamber, and what it's doing is it's allowing the solids to separate from the water. And then from there, the city would maintain it using existing vector trucks. Next slide. So just in wrapping up is the next steps. What we're doing is we actually had a geotechnical contractor go out there to do some soil borings that was performed on August 23rd. And that's going to be able to demonstrate for us that the structural, if the structural capacity of this, when we put the device in the ground, it's going to be allowing it to be able to be stable. We've already obtained clearances from SHPE as well as the DCAB for this design. And we're currently at the pre-final stage, or roughly at about 90%, and getting it ready to be submitted for the final permitting process. And then what we're anticipating is the construction bid schedule will be during that period of from January to June is when it goes out for posting, and then from there being awarded during that time period. We'll definitely be coming back and presenting to the community. I think we've already asked if we could come in February of 2025 to see if we could present some things both for this project, but also for other future projects that we're considering. And then also looking at a anticipated start of construction in the second half of 2025, roughly maybe around November of 2025. And work is likely we're estimated to last about 6 to 8 months. But there will be an extended landscape maintenance period to follow for that bow retention area, and that's likely going to be about 12 months. I think so. That's pretty much everything I wanted to present, and open to any questions that you might have.
All right, there might be a couple questions for Randall. Steve Trecker.
Can you tell us how often this particular structure is going to be emptied?
Sure. So it's all based on how much it actually collects, so that we won't know that until it actually is in place. But what we are expecting to do is going to be inspecting it quarterly and monitoring to see the levels of how much it's pulling into that device. And just based on some of our prior experience, it's about maybe every year or every other year is when it needs to be maintained.
Gary Weller.
I have a few questions. What happens after the 12 months?
So
who's going to maintain the landscaping?
So that then turns over, of course, back to the city. We've had discussions and conversations with our division of road maintenance that maintains all the infrastructure that falls within the roadway. So they're well aware of what we're doing. We've walked them through the plans. What we are intending to design this for, it does not include any irrigation. So it's going to be more of like a sort of like a drought tolerant, more like a xeriscape type of garden. So it doesn't rely on irrigation, but rather just on regular natural rainfall, and using certain type of plants that could help support that.
And are you going to do any before and after monitoring of the runoff water?
So we are intending not necessarily water quality monitoring to sample, because that's very expensive. But we definitely will be monitoring to see what the levels are, that what it's capturing and collecting. There might be some opportunities. Maybe we could monitor for that biofiltration for that green infrastructure, because we are definitely interested to see how effective it is, because we see a lot of the test data that's done across the country from EPA and other municipalities, as well as local here at the University of Hawaii. And it's fully demonstrated that it's very effective. It's just that we don't actually have that data. So it might be something of interest for us down the road.
Are you willing to share that monitoring data with the board?
If we do collect some of that information, the thing is, it's a lot of it is timing, is based on rainfall and runoff. And so you actually have to be out there when it's raining, and that's where it becomes really challenging. So,
my last thing is HPD in the loop on this? Because on the mainland, whenever a street cleaning project starts like this, people ignore the signs. And I noticed your sign didn't say tow away zone.
Mhm.
So on the mainland, the driver just calls the police, they come, they tow the vehicle away, and then they don't do that again.
Yeah.
So how are you going to handle that? Because we don't do enforcement very well at all.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good question, and we've seen this in other communities where we've implemented this. So yes, that's the reason why we're working closely with HPD for this Kailua district. And the intent is, like, as we're rolling out the program, what we see in the beginning is that there's a lot of people that don't quite understand, because it's on one side of the street and the other side. We've seen it in areas where they somehow don't get it. Like, they're parking on the wrong side of the street, they get ticketed on that side, and they park on the other side, they get ticketed on the other side of the street. So I think there's going to be some education that's going to go on, but our intent is that usually in the beginning, it's usually implementing ticketing of those violators. Towing is a little bit more challenging. I think there's a process that they have to go through in order to demonstrate that. So it's not an automatic toll, but it's more of a ticketing, because you're actually parking in an area that's restricted.
We're out of time for questions tonight, but if people have questions for Randall, you can please email them to me, Bill Hicks, KNE@gmail.com, and I'll pass them on to Randall.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
How do we address them before?
Next item of business is approval of minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of August 1st? Hearing none, the minutes are so approved. Committee reports. Any committee chair wish to amplify Their report, otherwise reports stand as published. Committee membership motions, any changes to committee membership? Evan Weber?
In consultation with named committee members, I'd like to motion to remove Kate Ryder and Lavani Lipton from the Parks and Recreation Committee
And the Transportation Committee.
and the Transportation Committee for the efficiency of the motion.
Yeah, per the request of the members. Is there a second? Seconded by Travis. Any discussion? All right. Are there any objections to this motion? Okay, those committee membership changes are approved. Kate Ryder stepping down from Transportation, Parks and Recreation, and Lavani Lipton stepping down from Parks and Recreation. Committee agendas for October are due Sunday, September 22nd. This meeting is adjourned at 10 p.m.
Shady, very shady. Bill.